So I used to think, and admittedly sometimes struggle with, believing that if I could just find the perfect rhythm, just get the routines right, the perfect healthy habits, habit stacking, then I would finally feel peace every single day. But the truth is, and I think we all know this, that peace does not come from perfect plans. It ultimately comes from surrender to God's perfect plan. Because as Proverbs 19:21 says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that ultimately prevails. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Nikki, a mom of 2, and on this channel I talk about faith, motherhood, homemaking, and the beauty of living counterculturally with intention. I dabble in a lot of things because I love to do a lot of things, but that's the gist of who I am. Part of what makes life challenging and exciting is that it is constantly changing. The seasons are constantly rolling over, similar if you live in a place like I do, where we actually experience seasons, to the seasons in nature, and they work together in harmony. As you guys know, I am in the season of littles, and I will probably be in this season, if God blesses us with another child at some point, for quite a few years. I'm also literally in the season of summer right now, so you're gonna see quite a bit of summer happening in this video that I'm excited to share with you guys. And I wanna share with you what God has been continuing to teach me about purpose, peace, and letting go of the pressure to feel like I have it all figured out. So I wanna start this off by stating the obvious, that it is good to plan. Planning and continuing to hone our skills is a good thing, and I think we are called to do that. When we read Proverbs, it talks about the fact that we should seek wisdom, we should not be sluggards, but it also emphatically hits home the point that it is better to hold onto our plans with open hands, because ultimately God's way is always better than ours, and He sees a much bigger picture than we have access to or are able to see. Side note, speaking of seasons, this is one of the things that I look so forward to during this season, this time of year, and that is berry picking with my babies. Connecting to the earth in this way really reminds me of God's goodness and His plan and just the life cycle. And speaking of life cycle, as a mom, I think sometimes it's very easy to just make endless plans in pursuit of a better life and then ultimately forget who holds our life. It can be confusing sometimes because we can tend to feel like we hold all the responsibility for how our day turns out, not only how our day turns out, but ultimately how our life turns out. And I truly believe that that is a lie. I believe that God works all things together for good, and that infers that there will be things that don't feel good, that He works together for our good. And so, like I said, yes, we are supposed to work towards increasing our productivity, fine-tuning our routines, caring for the children that we have, our homes, our husbands, our loved ones, our friends, our family members. But here's the thing, I think we can fall into a rut when we believe that our planning and our moves are what is going to save us. It's truly a heart issue. I think there's just a difference between believing that if we honed in on our skills and we were better, things would be better. But I believe that we are called to submit our hearts to the Lord and choose to believe that regardless how we think we do or don't measure up, how we run our days, that God is a God of miracles. And we may think that something is in our best interest and our family's best interest, but in the long run, in the big picture, it may not be what is in our interest and our family's interest. I've experienced this so many times in my life, times where I had a plan and ultimately God had a different one, and it ended up being better than the plan that I had for myself. And I don't think that we're always going to see the outcome of those plans, maybe being what we would deem to be derailed, but sometimes we do get to see. But either way, starting off our days and just living a life in general with open hands, where we pray for the Lord to give us peace no matter what He has coming for us that day, and to shape our hearts to be open to His plans and to keep a good attitude, an encouraging demeanor for our family and our friends, and to be used to be uplifting in other people's lives is ultimately, I think, where we are supposed to sit. Now, that doesn't mean we don't ever have moments of weakness or tiredness or fatigue from just the daily hardships of life, but I believe that we are supposed to renew our minds and our hearts in the Lord, in the Holy Spirit, in His Word. So along the same lines, maybe this is just a different way to say it, but I also think we are supposed to let God set the pace for our day. I've mentioned this before, but years ago, I worked with a therapist, a counselor, and I was talking to her about this because, yes, unfortunately, Unfortunately, there are many battles that I've fought for a long time, and this is one of them. And I remember her saying to me that I basically needed to go to the Lord and present my desires, my wishes, my plans, but ultimately tell him that whatever he has for me that day, whatever I get done that day is exactly what I'm supposed to get done. That I needed to trust that in my heart, that whatever the day held is exactly what he had for me that day, as opposed to viewing that day as a failure, viewing myself as a failure in that day if I didn't get everything done that I had hoped. Really accepting that not only grace covers the gaps and the mistakes that I may make, but also that God has something better. And if I don't do everything on my list, then everything on my list wasn't meant to be done. That wasn't what that day had for me. So when I talk to the Lord, I try to ask him to reveal to me, Lord, what do you have for me for today? What do you want today to look like? And some days my day does look exactly like how I hoped it would. Everything plays out in a way that I wanted it to play out. And other days it looks nothing like that. And those are the times where we really need to lean on God and ask for his grace and his peace that surpasses all understanding. I don't want anyone to get the wrong message. I mean, I don't know, maybe you're not, but just to clarify, I want to put this out there. Discipline matters. Growth matters. When we read Proverbs, that point is hit over and over and over, that we are not meant to be sluggard, that we are meant to work hard and to seek wisdom and truth. That is true. But like so many things, I think, in the Bible and the attributes of God, there can be multiple things that are true at the same time. By the way, I have to jump in here and say that this cake is the best cake I think I've ever had in my life. It is from the Wishbone cookbook. It is her olive oil cake with buttercream frosting. And as you can see, we did fresh strawberries on top, and all of my family members said that this is legit the best cake they've ever had in their life. Just had to throw that out there. You know, I am kind of low-key obsessive about my lists, and I'm always working on finding ways to improve my to-do lists and improve ways of organizing my thoughts. I've mentioned this before. If ADHD really is a legit thing, I've now become convinced that I think I have it. So this is something that I really feel passionately about, learning how to find some semblance of control over my brain and my thoughts and how to really get them organized. And even if I did find a way to really gain control over my thoughts and my plans and get them organized in a way that's just right, I think that still doesn't erase the fact that God's plans are better than our plans. We are not God. We do not know everything. And so I'll say it again, whatever plans God has for you today are the perfect plans for today. So I wanted to hop in here really quickly and say that another thing that helps me manage my time is being in a good, steady, well-nourished mood. And I'm about to make myself a smoothie using my Equip protein powder because it's later in the day. I haven't eaten. I need to eat, and I really need some protein. I love this stuff because it's super simple ingredients. Literally, the chocolate one is just grass-fed beef protein, cocoa powder, and stevia extract. It's so yummy. I love mixing the chocolate and the peanut butter and then mixing up with a little bit of ice and raw milk. It's so delicious. And more importantly than that, like I said, simple ingredients, and it doesn't hurt my belly. Every other protein powder that I've tried in the last few years makes me bloated, makes my stomach hurt, makes me feel icky, and this stuff doesn't do any of that. It is amazing. There's 21 grams of protein per scoop, and I can't recommend it enough. If you use my code NikkiP, you will get 15% off of your purchase, and as always, I appreciate when you guys use my links. I just had to give this a shout out. So here's the thing, guys. You can care for your family. You can be faithful with what's in front of you, your home, your people, your time, without believing the lie that everything depends on you, that for everything to run smoothly, it's all up to you. Because like I said, that's a lie, and his peace is available right now. And I just want to throw this out there. It is so easy to fall into the comparison trap. I've talked about this many times on my channel. It's something that I have struggled with a lot. The internet is the most amazing thing because not only does it connect us with other people, but it can give us insight into different ways that we might want to shape our lives, especially in this day and age of modernity, where I feel like there are a lot of things that you're just not exposed to if you are living like a suburban city life, if you didn't have grandparents around. I know for me, there have been so many things that the internet has exposed me to that I didn't even know existed that completely changed my life. One of which is home birthing, but I could honestly give a whole list. That being said though, Just like the tension we've talked about in this video of reaching for discipline and trying our best while simultaneously opening up our hands to the Lord and knowing that it is not our plans, that we don't control everything, that we can't do everything perfect, and that there's other people in the mix, obviously. So we have to submit to God's plan and trust his perfect plan. And just like that tension exists, it's the same thing with comparison. I think looking to other people for inspiration and taking ideas from them and implementing them into your life is a great thing, but it's a fine line between then turning around and comparing ourselves and feeling less than. And the thing about the internet is everything looks better pretty much online. That's not always true, but most of the time people are presenting what they're comfortable with having you see. You are not seeing the full picture. Everybody has challenges, struggles, a sin nature that they are fighting, and ultimately different circumstances. I touched on this in the beginning a bit, but we are all living such uniquely different lives. It's imperative to remember that no one's circumstances are the same. And so no one's results, no one's life is going to be exactly the same. Everyone's struggles are unique and everyone's giftings are unique. If you're looking for more thoughts around this topic, I was actually inspired by Sally Clarkson. She released a podcast recently talking about how everyone is not only in a different season of life, but how they have unique elements of their life that make their unique puzzle pieces fit together just so. So I will link Sally's podcast down below if you'd like to hear it. She's an encouragement to me just in general in life. And I want to end by asking you, what is one area of your life that you feel like you need to surrender to God? And I'd be curious to know what season of life that you're in. I know that we're not all in the same season of like littles, babies to 5 years old. It's a very specific season. Sally is in the season of her life where her friends are passing away. It's an entirely different rhythm, an entirely different season. And I find encouragement from hearing about other people's seasons of their life. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will, God willing, see you back here soon with another new video. Bye.